The views and opinions heard on this show do not necessarily reflect the views of the host.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Real Spiritual Talk Radio.
My breathing had stopped for so long that my heart actually ended up stopping.
You saw what I did. You said that I was going to die.
And then I remember being gone. I wasn't there anymore.
I sort of lifted up about 6 feet above my body.
A pinprick of light appeared and came rushing toward me faster than the speed of light.
And then this light, all of a sudden it was all completely around me.
He says, I am God. Yes, I am real.
The main message was loving yourself and loving others.
It was clearly shown to me.
It was really hard to put into words. It felt like I had been there before. It was just this very personal, impersonal, unconditional love.
Welcome to another edition of Real Spiritual Talk Radio. I am your host, Lamont Gates. Once again, bringing you the world of faith, metaphysicality, and spirituality. Today, my guest learned not only was there a purpose for her current life, but was also shown that the events of her future were not to be worried over as well. Let's get it started. Joining me via telephone, ladies and gentlemen, is near-death experiencer Britney Hartman. Britney, welcome to Real Spiritual Talk Radio.
Hello.
Glad to have you here, and I thank you for coming on and adding to the literature with your account, as well as providing hope for those with questions. So, tell us first about what it was you believed or learned about religion or spirituality back to your very earliest memory.
Growing up as a child, I don't remember too much, there wasn't a whole lot of religious, we didn't do a whole lot. My mom, we started out as, Lutheran, and we started going to church. I remember going to church at a really young age. I remember going to Bible school, but I don't remember anything from that. I was really young. I don't remember what age we stopped going, but it was pretty young. And then we never really went to church after that, other than funerals and weddings. My mom was very spiritual, though. She did talk about the Lord. She did pray. She told us that if we were ever in need of something and we were really down, to ask God and, just pray. But beyond that's pretty much it. When I was in college, though, I did get into a little, bit of Buddhism, Judaism. I did look into, I tried studying a little bit about different religions, but that's about it.
So something at a later time piqued your curiosity on religion.
I would say it was a college class. It was I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a sociology. It talked about societies and the development of societies. And then at the end of that college course, it had us look at different religions. And that's where that kind of came into play. But yeah, that was really the only thing that triggered that. Beyond that, I didn't really put my feet into any waters.
So let's talk now about the near-death experience. How old were you when it occurred?
So I was 33. I'm 34 now. It was a year ago yesterday.
So we have an anniversary account here. Interesting.
Yep.
So what exactly was it that brought your experience on?
Well, I have struggled with depression, suicidal ideation from a young age, I was abused as a child, and that's kind of when that started. But I never acted upon that up until a year ago yesterday. And I ended up taking 2 bottles of lidocaine liquid. And that's how I ended up having the near-death experience. I was in my living room when I did that, and then I wanted to go into my bedroom, so I got up and I walked heading that way, but I didn't make it to the bedroom. I ended up falling on the floor before I got to the bedroom. And that's when I had the near-death experience. It was at home, and then when I woke up from it, that's when I called the 911 to go to the hospital.
Okay, so walk us through the experience from the beginning. When did you realize that you weren't in this earthly realm any longer?
So when I hit the floor, I remember hitting the floor, and then I opened my eyes, and I was in this black void area. There was red in it. I thought I was in hell at first. There was a lot of pain. I felt a lot of physical pain. And I kept telling myself, oh my gosh, this is hell. What did I do? Oh, this is bad. And that's when I started realizing that this is what I'm going to be going through for eternity. And I remember that's kind of when I realized what eternity is. I don't think I've ever, and it's hard to explain, but when you think about eternity, it's hard to really think about that. But it just really hit me at that point that eternity is a very long time, and this is going to be forever. And just as I was, starting to panic myself, I think I ended up closing my eyes. I opened them, and I ended up opening them, and I was on what I call level 1 of heaven. There was a voice that kind of walked me through everything up until I got to level 3. But when I got to level 1, it was pretty much the voice telling me, this is level 1 of heaven. You're safe. And then all of those fears just went away. And I kind of realized at that point that it was probably a transformation stage at that point. And now looking back at it, maybe a, shedding of your human stuff in a way, and maybe that was why it was a painful mode. But anyway, I ended up on level 1 of heaven. And it was beautiful. But it looked a lot like Earth is what I would explain it. I wasn't there for very long at all. And then I ended up just going to level 2. And then level 2 is where I saw my family. It was in a house. It wasn't a house that I've ever seen before, but it was an amazing, house structure. They were sitting at a table type thing. It looked like they were, either getting ready to eat or they had eaten. And it was all of my, my family, my grandma, my grandpa, all of my other extended family members. But there was my mom there and my dog, and those two didn't really fit. They were still alive. So it really made me question, is this a dream? What's going on? And then at that point, that's when that, voice came over and said, your family here is on level 2, but you're needed on level 3. Will you come to level 3? but your family can't come with you. And I was very surprised at my answer because I really missed my grandma. I hadn't seen my grandma since she passed in 2009. And she was a really big part of my life. So, I was really surprised with myself that I just gave my grandma a hug, gave my other family members a hug, and then I was like, yep, let's go to level 3. So, I then almost again just blinked and then I was at level 3. And this level was just way more beautiful than level 2. And that's where I saw I call her angel, but, guide maybe. And that's where she said that, I was needed there at level 3, but I needed to finish what I started, back at Earth first. And that's when I started falling through level 2, level 1, that void. And then I woke up into my body, and that's when I crawled to 911, or crawled to the phone to dial 911. And I don't really remember the cop coming in and screaming. I don't really remember much of the ambulance ride. I don't really remember a whole lot of the first part of the hospital, but I remember every single part of this experience. And when I woke up, I didn't really know what to think, but about 2 weeks later, my mom ended up passing, and she was the one that I saw in heaven. So that really kind of made me think, okay, what I saw was what I saw. It wasn't a dream. And then 2 months later, I ended up seeing my dog too. Or my dog, the dog that I saw, passed, 2 months later. So both of them that I saw in heaven that didn't fit, now they fit. So that kind of sealed the deal for me.
Yeah, this is very interesting. So, in other words, on this level, which you refer to as level 2, you saw your grandparents who were deceased, yet you also saw your mother and dog who were not. So it seems as if this level was showing you a future glimpse or some sort of prophetic-like vision, would you say?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. And the timing of it is very interesting to me because, you know, I always struggled with the suicidal ideation, the depression, but I always told myself that I couldn't act on anything. I couldn't do anything because my mom needed me. My mom could not bury me. So I'm stuck on this earth until my mom is gone. And until that happens, I'm here. And I think a lot about what would have happened if I didn't have that experience and then my mom passed. Would I be as at peace with her passing? Because, I mean, I saw her on level 2, you know. I feel like that's where she is. That's where my dog is. And I know that's where I'm going to see her again. So had I not have had that experience, what would it be like? And what, you know, how would I be handling it without that? And when I woke up from the experience, that voice that was inside of me that kept telling me that I wasn't good enough, that I was fat, that I was, you know, not worthy, that voice that has been inside since I was 11, that's been completely silent. I haven't heard it since I woke up. And I have not had any suicidal thoughts. I haven't wanted to die since I woke up. And that is quite astonishing because I have wanted to die since I was 11. So for me to be able to say that, it's pretty amazing to me.
So you were healed somewhat psychologically and sealed with the foreknowledge that your mother and dog would be okay?
Yep. Yeah, I would say so.
Going back to level 1, you mentioned that it looked like Earth. Describe to us how it mirrored what we see here.
What I saw was, it was kind of an open field. There was trees. They kind of looked like there was bushes. It really looked like maybe just an open field that you would see, here on Earth, just a little bit more beautiful, if that makes sense. A little bit more light to it. But it was definitely the most Earth-like of them all, but the least brightest, if that makes sense. And then as you moved up on the levels, it got less Earth-like, but more brighter.
Now tell us about level 2. I know you mentioned a house you saw your family in.
Yes. It was, like I said, it was a house, really big house, like really tall ceilings. Like I said, it's not any kind of a house that I've ever seen before. I didn't really see any outside of there, but everything was just so bright. And it was just really pretty inside, really pretty china stuff, golden, I want to say like awning things on the doors, and again, just really bright light.
So it's very much like the biblical passage, "In my Father's house are many mansions." Did this house resemble such?
Yeah, I mean, that would fit that. Yeah, for sure.
Now take us to level 3. How did it compare to the other 2?
Level 3, I would say, would look the most heaven-like. There was, a big gate. There was trees, there was flowers, colors that I've never, seen before. It's so hard to describe because it's just something that I've just never seen before. And like I said, just light, a lot of gold. And I did forget to mention when I did get to level 3, that angel guide thing, did say that this is where all of the, what did it say? Like, this is where all of the, not high powers, but that's kind of how I took it. Like, maybe like the very highest religious, I kind of took it as maybe that's where the Lord was, or, Buddha, or, but that was like the very top people, is how I kind of took it.
So in other words, the highest spiritually evolved reside on this level.
Yes, definitely. And like I said, I can't remember the verbiage that was used, but yes, that's exactly how I took it. And it was not, said that it was the Lord, or, they didn't describe any specific one, but yeah, that's exactly how I took it. And it didn't sound like the person said that, my family was not able to go there. So, and I don't know why, but it didn't seem like not everybody got to go to that level.
Well, what's interesting though is that the voice said you were needed there, and despite your earthly negative feelings of yourself, perhaps you were seen as someone more spiritually evolved than you think.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know. I've never been able to I've never had high self-esteem or anything, so it's different for me to think, like I'm not, special or something like that. But, what I took from that was, the guide said that I needed to finish what I started here on Earth, and, what I took from that was, prior to my, near-death experience, I was trying to start, a nonprofit that, helps families find their missing loved ones. So when I had my near-death experience and that was said to me, I really jumped on that. And after my mom passed, I ended up being able to pay for that nonprofit status. And so now I have a nonprofit called Justice Takes Flight, and we help Colorado families find their lost loved ones when they're missing. And in 2019, we helped, it was 23 families. And so far this year, we've helped 52 families. So, I'm thinking that's maybe what they were talking about. So I'm really just trying to, help anybody that's missing here on Earth. I try to help anybody that I can, honestly. And I feel like maybe I should share my story to as many people as I can, because, you know, there's a lot of people out there that question it, and especially with pets, you know, I hear a lot of times, I don't know if I'll ever see my pet again, and I feel like I can confidently tell people, yes, you will, because I saw my dog, on level 2, you know, in heaven, and I really do think that I will see him again. I know I will. So maybe that's what I'm meant to do, is help people get through this really hard time on Earth right now. And so here I am.
And that's a fabulous mission you have going on, which is also a point to be made about your spiritual evolution indeed. You also make a great point about pets. Many wonder if pets continue on after their life here on Earth as well. But you can now more surely give that information to those with those particular hopes.
And I will add, too, when I did see my pet, his name is Bear. When I saw Bear on level 2 in my near-death experience, he was, I would guess, maybe at the age he was on Earth at, like, maybe 5. He was at his prime. He was, you know, happy. He was excited. He was, you know, his thin, trim self. He was my baby Bear. And unfortunately, that's not how he ended his life here. He was older, and he had the last couple of years of his life, he had some medical issues, and it made him gain some weight, and it made his bones hurt, and he just was not that Bear, and that's not the, you know, the Bear that I said goodbye to, but that's the Bear that I saw in heaven. And so that really makes me feel comfortable too, knowing that his eternal him is the most happy him.
So in his lack of earthly health, he was brought back to complete health there. Fascinating. Another question I'd like to ask is if there were any gifts, so to speak, you came back with. Many talk about precognition. Many talk about a high level of empathy. Did you come back with any of these things?
I was thinking about this just the other day, and it would be interesting if you know, call me up in a year or two and ask me this question, because mine's so fresh. I don't know. I want to say that I have maybe a little bit more of a sense of when something's going to happen. But it could be just coincidence too. Like the other day, I told one of my relatives to drive really safe because I just knew something was going to happen. And she called me and she's like, I'm really glad you told me that because I was almost in an accident. But was that coincidence, you know, or was that something? I am interested to see in a year or two, if that, you know, happens more or if it maybe develops more. But I would say maybe a little bit. but it definitely has changed my mentality as far as I'm way more, I have way more self-esteem. I've never had self-esteem before, and now I feel like, yes, I deserve to be here. I need to be here. And that, like I said, that voice has been silenced that I've had since I was 11. And I have not, there were days when I would lay in bed and just think, oh man, I wish this was a coffin and I was being buried. I mean, it was that bad of a suicide ideation. And like I said, since I woke up from that near-death experience, I haven't had one thought.
And many times that alone is the gift. Some say psychic abilities or healing powers follow them back, but being healed is probably the biggest gift of all. Now, what would you say to those who have questions about the other side or may be suicidal and thinking there is no purpose here?
Just if you're questioning if you're going to see your loved ones again, I can confidently say yes. It's through my experience you will, and you will see your pets too. And that if you are experiencing suicidal thoughts or having issues with that I know how hard it can be and that it's super easy to want to give up. But the things that we're going through now on this earth, I really think it's shaping us and molding us and having us learn stuff for what we're doing in that next realm. And I really think that the people that are really struggling and having the hardest times are probably the more needed people up in that next realm. And you're being tried and you're being pushed to learn and shape and grow. And just keep pushing. And it's whatever happens here, it doesn't follow you. That court document, that bankruptcy, that divorce, it doesn't follow you up there. So just take everything here with a grain of salt. Be as kind as you can to everybody, and just hang on, because this world is tough, but it gets a heck of a lot better and a heck of a lot nicer. I've seen it.
Fascinating and very encouraging words. Well, Britney, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your account.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Britney Hartman. And that's going to do it here on Real Spiritual Talk Radio. Please follow me on Facebook, Real Spiritual Talk Radio, and there you will find past shows and other relevant near-death experience information, as well as YouTube. You can type in my name, Lamont Gates, and there you will find the same. This has been a very enlightening journey, and I hope you all are also being spiritually enlightened as I am, as I always am when I hear a new account cross my ears and eyes. And with that said, I am your host, Lamont Gates, and this is Real Spiritual Talk Radio, now signing off.